Hello, and welcome to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club. My name is Courtney, and I'll be your host. And thank you so much for joining me again today, Val from Girls Gaze Animes.
Yay, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that we watched Twilight Out of Focus for our BL Anime of the Month for May. This is so much fun. Did you like it?
I don't know how this one slipped under my radar because honestly, this has been one of my favorite, I think, BL animes that I may have ever watched. So I slept on this. So good.
I started, so last summer it came out, and I started watching it when it was coming out, and then I got distracted. I was planning a wedding, and I had like watched maybe 10 minutes of the first episode, but I had no idea how involved it was gonna get, like how much was going on in that story. Yeah. I don't think I made it past that first kind of introduction where we meet the characters and they kind of set up their dynamic together. And if I had, I don't think I would have been able to stop watching.
I was like, once you get past that, there's like not a single dull moment.
Not a dull moment. And there's so many characters and the animation is so beautiful. Like it's really so beautiful.
It is. Real quick, did you watch it sub or dub?
I watched it dubbed. Did you watch it sub?
No, I watched it dubbed. I know last time we like watched an anime, I made a comment about like there's a director who's in charge of making sure that the lip flaps line up. I don't know who that director was for this, but they didn't do as well as I think what we're used to, and so that was pretty distracting for me. But so watching it dubbed, the voice actor who was one of the main guys, and we're gonna get into a bit, he is in several other BL animes. He's actually a main character in another really popular BL anime, and you will never guess who. I would give you the name of the anime that he is in, and you will never guess which character he is in it. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the main character, the blonde guy in this. Sorry for those who haven't watched it. I know we're gonna get into it. So the main character, the blonde guy, he is in Sasuke and Miyano.
Is he Sasuke?
No.
He's not Miyano.
He's Mio. No, literally.
His voice is so like it's so like
it's
sexy
top.
In this one. It's so
top.
It's giving top, and in Mio is as like dreamy, dreamy soft boy. Like
yes, I know. I was like, I thought I was reading it wrong when I was reading it because I was like, this is such a good voice. What else is he been in? And I was like, no, this is wrong. I looked up 3 different sites. It confirmed all.
That's insane. But those, I mean, the voice actors, when you start hearing them, then you can't stop hearing them. So I'm glad I didn't know it beforehand because I would have like, I don't know. The voice acting was really good. Maybe I wouldn't have.
I agree. The voice acting was phenomenal. And I looked up and like, I was like, man, so many of these voice actors like really haven't been in a ton of stuff, which is so surprising because they did an amazing job. But then I saw that he was Mia in Sasuke Miyano and I was like, no fucking way. He also was not one of the mains, but he was also a character in Given too. So
Given is like our October watch, and everybody has just been warning me, and I'm one, so excited. 2, I have bought like so many of the volumes of the story, and I'm holding off on both. And I also am just like, am I going to even be ready? Everybody is traumatizing me, telling me how sad it is, and it also is so peak that I'm like, the anticipation is really getting to me on Given.
Okay, I started it, but I never finished. So if you want me to come back for one of those, let me know and I'll go through. And I have the manga and I like started the anime and I like read some of the manga and then I stopped because like I couldn't keep up with it coming out and then I just forgot to continue it. And then so I need an excuse to restart. So let me know.
Okay, you're RSVP'd for the anime episode for Given. That is so exciting. And this way, if I do start crying, I'll have somebody to talk to about it and be like, hey, Are you heartbroken? Are you crushed?
I'm just gonna send you a picture of me just like sobbing.
One thing I loved about this anime was that it is pretty much, I guess I can go into the tropes, but it's pretty much fluffy, wholesome. It does not... There's something very sad and awful in it, but for the most part, it is all good feelings, all happiness, all like bliss. So I really did love that about this story, and I needed it. Like going into the summer, I needed some pure joy, and this show was pure joy. So we to get into it. So we've got Twilight Out of Focus, which is centered on an all-boys school. So our tropes are going to be high school, all boys school, boarding school. It is all fluffy. It's all of the characters are green flag. They're all good to each other. There's no toxicness going on. There's some immaturity, but there's no real toxic behavior between anybody. And then we've got roommates to lovers. We've got some enemies to lovers, enemies to roommates to lovers. And then we've got multiple storylines. So I would say that there's a main couple and then two side couples, but they all get kind of equal screen time. So it kind of feels like we've got three main couples and kind of it's one of those stories where everybody's plot lines start to intersect.
I like to call this a 3-for-1 because it's like one BL anime, but you get like 3 BL stories out of it and they're all connected.
Yep, it's like that shampoo that boys insist on using that's like body wash and shampoo and conditioner, and you're like...
That should be illegal. That should be illegal.
Is it doing any of those jobs well? Is it doing any
Okay,
of
but
them
no, this
well?
isn't like that because this did do a good job.
Oh yeah, all three couples get perfect amounts of screen time. They get a thorough examination of their dynamics. Everybody is really fleshed out. So you're right. This is not
this shampooed, conditioned, and body washed for me.
It was a miracle product. It was even moisturizing. So we've got a spoiler-free summary is basically that we show up at this boarding school and we meet our first couple, and we know that they're going to be in the film club. So we've got a director in the film club and then his roommate who he's been living with for the last year, and very quickly we learn he's going to be an actor in the film club as well. And then as we progress on, we meet some characters from the older class, the third years. So the first couple's second years, the other class is third years. And they're in a bit of a competition to see who can have the best film at the end of the year production. And the second years are doing a BL. So we've got this inception of a BL within a BL, which I love. And speaking of Sasuke and Miyano, where we have Fudanshis who are reading BL and living their BL dream. In this story, we also have a bunch of Fudanshis who love reading BL and are also acting out BL and living out a BL fantasy in their own right. So I really loved that inception of sorts. And then, without giving anything else away, that's the basic plot. So if you guys haven't watched this yet, I would say that it immediately went up into like my top 5, maybe my top 3 BL anime, like Yuri on Ice, Sasuke and Miyano, and probably Twilight Out of Focus. Like they're Cherry Magic and Escape the Infinity, which some people debate. Those are also in there.
I'll fight anyone who says that it's not.
It's clearly a BL. So those are kind of my top 5, but I would say Twilight Out of Focus is probably in that top 3. So please, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I would recommend 10 out of 10, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I'll say if you liked Sasuke and Miyano, but you thought the slow burn was too slow, this is for you.
I would say if you were looking for things to get heated a little quicker, then by episode 2 and 3 of this story, you're going to be like head over heels fully in the realization of a relationship. So yes, very much so. This is like a more mature take on Sasuke and Miyano.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's 4 manga available. You haven't read any of them yet.
I have not.
Are you going to go pick them up?
I might.
So Crunchyroll has a box set that is like really pretty. And I think that because if you have a Crunchyroll subscription, you get a discount.
Look at me.
Right? Yes,
Look at
girl.
me.
Yes. So, and I think it's like, I have a note here. I think it's going for like $47.
It's basically free.
It's basically free. That's like $10 a book. And the box set is beautiful. It has like film strips on the outside, and I am absolutely going to order it as soon as we're off the phone. And then there is 2 spinoffs, and it's weird. The spinoffs are called Twilight Out of Focus 2, After Images in Slow Motion, and Twilight Out of Focus 4, The Evening Monologues. I'm like, what happened to number 3? But anyways, that's what I hear on the interweb, is that there are spin-off mangas. So I wonder if there will be a spin-off anime as well.
Okay, I'm reading about the box set because you said after we record and I couldn't wait. It says the box set contains volumes 1 through 4 featuring story and art by the mangaka, plus a special booklet with US edition exclusive art, a never before translated short story, and new full color illustrations.
Oh, we'll be
So,
ordering
so add to
immediately.
cart.
Oh, as soon as I hear that there's an art book included with something, I'm like, well, I would have paid this much probably just for the art books.
I was gonna pay this anyway. This is just bonus.
Yeah, to hell if I'm gonna go buy 4 single volumes at Barnes and Nobles when I could get all those extras. So if you guys like this anime, definitely there's a big well to draw from. I don't know that it will ever get like a second season or an OVA, but I feel like there's potential for that because it's super popular and it just got produced and released last year in America. So it feels like it hasn't been that long since. There's still hype about it. So maybe there's going to be more animated content as well. We can always hope and pray to whatever God you believe in.
Us Fujoshis, we're great at being delusional.
Oh, on the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, we basically make it a career.
She knows the name of the podcast. Let's go.
Sometimes the delusion is literally the solution. And if I can make it happen through willpower alone, you guys know that I will do my best. So we've got the mangaka or the mangaka, which mangaka, there we have it. You can't trust this girl from Montana to pronounce anything right. Their name is Genome. Yeah. And if you guys had heard how I practiced this before Val got here, you'd be really disappointed in me. So we're just going to go with that, and I won't mention it again. So all props to them for creating this beautiful story. And thank you so much for forgiving me for botching your name. So to kind of give you a visual, if you guys are listening on podcasts, you should definitely go subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see everything on video, but I've got a little visual aid here. So this is going to be our first couple, and then we've got our second couple here. These guys are second years, these guys are third years, and then our last couple, which is going to be a third year and a first year. So now that you've heard our little breakdown, I'm going to have Val take us through the couples one by one. So Val, will you tell us about the first 3 episodes, which are dedicated to our first couple?
Yes, do you want to say their names for me?
Yes, okay, so I've got yet another visual aid because when you're working with six main characters is a lot of main characters. So
it's shampoo, it's conditioner, it's body wash.
So for our shampoo, we have Hisashi and Mao. So our first couple is going to be Hisashi and Mao. And they also, obviously, they call them by their first and last name. So Otomo and Tsuchiya, but we're just going to call him Mao and Hisashi. Yeah. So Hisashi is the top. This blonde guy here, he's gorgeous, blonde, tall, beautiful, got piercings. And then we have this little nerdy guy named Mao, who's a brunette and quite slim and petite.
It's weird to know that like it's the voice actor that's the tall blonde top is the voice actor for the short brunette bottom and a different BL, and so it's like it's almost like he's topping himself because the little brunette, it's like the same character.
They literally kind of look like them too.
That's what I mean, and it's like, okay, Mia's into reading BL, and this other our bottom is like he's filming a BL, and so he's also reading it and stuff too. So it was okay. So I'll get into it. So our tall blonde and our short, I've already forgotten their names, even though
Hisashi and Mao.
They are second years, and this is their second year living together, and they've got this like cute little thing that they do where at the beginning of every year they like record this like promise to each other, but it's basically like, I'm not gonna like barge in because we need private time, fine, whatever. And then there's like, I'm not gonna out you because he knows. So the brunette is seemingly straight, and the blonde is out only to his roommate. As gay, and so he's like, I'm not gonna out you. And then the third promise is that they were not gonna fall in love with each other. And I'm just like, and they hit you with this like on the very first, like it's the opening scene, and I'm like, okay.
If we
So,
already have to promise not to fall in love with each other, there's feelings there. So they've got, the first promise is not to out him. The second
yeah,
promise
okay.
is that he won't tell anyone about his boyfriend,
Oh,
because the
you're
blonde
right.
has
Yes.
a very secret and kind of diabolical situation going on behind the scenes. And then the third promise, that they won't fall in love. And then they have this bonus, which is like, if you squeak, they have these two cute little toys. And they're like, if either one of us squeaks the toy, the squeaky toy, that means the other one has to get lost so that we can have some private time in the dorm to take care of our own business.
Yes.
So they've got that kind of agreement, and the bottom says, we have to put it on camera because I can't lie when I'm on camera, which is like his cute little quirk, as he takes film so seriously.
So precious. So, okay, so we get past them like making their promise, and the scream I scrumped when like the next scene is literally like the screenwriter for the film club slapping a chalkboard that just has BL in big letters on it. I was like, get out of here.
I just love when something is this outrightly a BL, because we have so many like sports animes that you can pretend are BLs, or that are BLs just between the lines. But this one, right at the beginning, it's like, we not only are we a BL, but we're going to be talking BL the whole time. And this film director is the club president of the film club. He is a Fudanchi who's just read his first BL, and he's immediately ready for them to start their class project as filming this BL. It's so straightforward.
It's so good. Okay, so if you see me cutting, it's because I took notes, because I was watching this and I'm like, no, this is so, I have to take, and I'm not normally one to do that. So I have a note. It says the screenwriter in episode 1 was such a vibe.
He is such a vibe.
He's a straight virgin who loves BL. We'll circle back to that one later.
But they definitely go into the fact that they're like, should we be making a romance? We're all a bunch of fucking nerds.
Right, yeah. They're like, none of us have any experience, like whatever. The other note that I have is, it was a really cute note, but it said that, it says, maybe one day we can drop the modifier on same-sex marriage. And I was like,
I loved that. And he's like, this is not just, BL is not just a fun little romance. It has social importance, and we are going to make a difference on the people who watch this. It's going to affect them. And I felt like that was such an important note to make, is like, we're not, I know. Like, it is important. Representation is so important, and making different diverse relationships mainstream makes them not taboo. And all of us participating in that media and in that culture shifts us away from this division and hatred and towards a world of equality and love. And they are so on the nose with that remark. Hopefully one day, if we all understand the value in these relationships, we can see them as just relationships and not as same-sex relationships or same-sex marriage. And we can all just see love as love, and marriage as marriage, and relationships as relationships. That was so important. Yeah.
So I'm gonna start steamrolling this now, because like it happened so quick that like it's gonna seem like I'm like just rolling through these episodes, but honestly, like that's how it is. So like if you have ADHD and you're like, oh, I couldn't pay attention to Sasuke Mira, like this is your shit, okay? So episode 1, he's like, oh, like you should ask your roommate. He's a bad boy to be the bad boy in our BL film. And he's like, no, that's awkward. I'm not going to do that. Meanwhile, he's like reading BL to like try and like understand the script more and stuff. By episode 2, we have a confession.
Yep.
Okay. We also find out, I don't remember it's the end of episode 1, the beginning of episode 2, but basically we find out that our top, he was in a very toxic relationship with his, I want to say his middle school teacher. Yeah, and they had been together since he was in middle school.
Because he had gotten kicked out of his house. His mom, his stepsister had hit on him, and his parents blamed him for that, even though he, did everything he could to reject her advances. So he gets kicked out of his home, and he gets groomed and taken advantage of by his teacher, who says, you can come live with me, but basically you're going to be my pet. And he absolutely is groomed into this relationship for what seems like a few years with a full grown adult who
Right.
had authority over him. It is like absolutely worst case scenario. And that's when you find out like why he specifically didn't want to be outed or have his relationship outed, because it would literally be a criminal offense.
Right. The breakup scene, though, was absolute slay because he straight up calls him a creepy pedophile and then, like,
he cusses him
there.
out.
Yes.
He fully cusses him out, and he's like, you know what? We should break up. I don't think you're going to be interested in me any longer because I'm not a little kid anymore, and you're a fucking disgusting pedophile. And he goes off on him, and it is one of those moments in anime where you don't know if they're going to handle that situation properly, because so many times these age gaps or like straight up grooming and pedophilia is brushed over, which I wish people would just put those words on it. You're a disgusting fucking pedophile. And it felt so good to have that said, dealt with, done with immediately. You don't have to worry about that character because he just stood up for himself. He ended the situation. He got out, and we can move on. And it felt really well done.
And I'm interested in how the manga handles it too, because it's interesting because for someone to be in a relationship like that for so long, for them to be able to straight up just execute that sort of breakup is insane. And I'm assuming his relationship with his then roommate helped him like realize that he is like a stronger person, and that, you know, he was taken advantage of at a very young age and that he deserves more. And so I'm hoping that the manga goes into that a little bit more, but honestly, like it wasn't too much. Like it was heavy. Like the event that was explained was heavy, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel overly heavy watching it, but it also didn't feel rushed because, like you said, like he handled it so well.
Yep. And also because we know he's been living with his roommate for the full year previous, he's not been homeless for a year. So he's had that trickle off where, you know, in these grooming situations, people will make you dependent on them as a child. You're dependent on this adult who is abusing you. And because he's been in a boarding school for a year with a roommate who takes care of him emotionally, he's been able to build that support system and that net, so that he knows when he leaves that relationship, he is going to be okay on his own. And he isn't homeless anymore. There's one scene where the two roommates are out at night, and he's thinking to himself, I used to hate the nighttime so bad because I was bouncing around from place to place and I was homeless. And now I don't hate the night anymore because I know as soon as I come home, you'll say hello to me and you'll be there for me. And it even shows the bottom Mao. He like does this little dad joke whenever the top comes home late. He's like, where have you been, mister? And so like in a way he is like, you know, he's taking care of him, and he's replacing that need for somebody to watch over you. And so this roommate of his is taking the place of that guy who was grooming him, who made him feel like somebody cared about him. Now he has this roommate to do that. So I feel like in the manga it probably does go into that more, hopefully, because that is an important thing to note, is that not everyone can get out of this so easily.
Yeah. And it's also nice because of the way that the story is told. Like, he's brought into the film club, but then, you know, he wants to spend time with his new boyfriend, who's also in the film club doing the camera work, but then he gets invited to join like the actors club, and he's like, oh, I don't know, like I really only did this because I wanted to spend time with you. But then like it's so healthy. Oh my God. Like there's no like you would think that someone who's been through something like that would be extremely codependent, but he's not. Like they're both just so supportive of each other. He's like, no, like I'm also selfishly wanting to spend time with you, but like you're so good at acting, you should absolutely go join the actors club. Like we'll get to work together again. And like it's just chef's kiss.
They acknowledge like a couple selfish feelings they have, but then they're like, overall, I will always support you doing what is most important to you and what's best for you. And it's just so healthy. So right after that breakup, he sees the guy who's grooming him like bash his face into a window. And so he's hurt, and he sees him hurt, and he's like, that's when he does that confession. He's like, oh, I see you hurt, and I never want to see you hurt again. I would never hurt you. And I think I just realized that I'm in love with you, especially after reading all these BL. It's normalized these feelings I have for you, and I'm not confused any longer. I can see right away what kind of relationship we'd be in, because every day we're acting that out and reading that, and it's not that weird anymore. And it just goes to show that normalizing these relationships can help people sort their own emotions out. It's just beautifully, beautifully done.
Yeah. I'm going to go through the rest of my notes. They're like surprisingly unhinged. During the breakup scene, you were like, oh, he cussed him out. And I'm like, did he? And I'm like, yeah, he did. Because in my notes, I said the bleeping out in the breakup, like totally, like it was such a powerful moment, but there were so many swear words that got bleeped out. It was like, wait, what word did he even use? Like, I don't even, like, can I guess which word? There was so many. And then
he's a bad boy. He curses and he has piercings.
He's such a little sweetheart. And then after, so they did a callback. They did a couple like flashbacks. I said the repeated callbacks to the first sleepwalking dream. So
I forgot about that scene. There's one scene when the two haven't confessed to each other. That guy is still kind of his boyfriend.
Yeah.
He sleepwalks and starts hitting on Mao. He like licks him.
Yes. And then like he ends up like, one of them ends up like grappling the other one, and it looks like he's like going down on him. And I'm like, it just totally like killed them. It was so funny for me. And I'm like watching this on an airplane. I don't care. I'm like, whatever. So whenever there's like an implied spicy scene or whatever, it gets these really like blue undertones to it. So you're like, no, like romance is happening. They don't show anything. Like it's, you know, you might see back and maybe chest and waist and that's it. Just said that,
it's
but it was like a similar
totally
tone.
Yeah, it's not totally fade to black, but it is like censored in a way that you know both what's happening and you also don't feel creepy watching it. So I again felt like it was super well done for one that was going to show spice at that point in your life.
Yeah. Okay, so more on the pacing, right? So that was up to episode 2. Episode 3, the quotes that I have written in my notes are, I'm going to break my promise. Do you know which promise he's breaking? Do you know which one he's talking about? He's like, I think he's talking about like hurting him because like he says,
God.
Next time I'll do a better job prepping, but I can't wait any longer.
I remember watching that part and being like, boy, and then the bottom is like, give me all you got.
Yeah, he's like, I want to see how much you can take and what you'll forgive. And I was like, okay,
and
this is the other guy's like first, like we know at the beginning that like this other dude's like first relationship ever, and I'm like, saucy, yeah, good for him.
Good for him. It does very much show this like imbalance of experience, but also they're the same age and they have all this mutual trust from living together for so long that you feel like they understand each other to the point where they can try this stuff out. So it did feel very healthy in that way for sure. And like you said, saucy. It was very saucy.
Yeah, so that's the first couple.
Yep. And so they make their film and we kind of cut off with them going into editing of it, and then we move on to the third years and see what the third years are working on with their film, which is not a BL. It's like a very CGI heavy sci-fi about aliens. So we've got back to my little visual aid, we're going to move on to the third years here, which is going to be Jean, and then we've got Ichigawa. So we'll call him Ichi and Jean. So Jean is red-haired and Ichi has black hair. When it's up in a ponytail, he looks like a fucking nerd. And when it's down, he is so cute. He is like, with his long black hair, he's actually got it going on.
Okay, wait, I have more notes about the first couple. I'm so sorry. I'm going to double back really quickly.
Hit it.
I have that in my notes. I'm like, man, I'm waiting for the ball to drop because I'm like, man, this is just going so smooth. Like everything's going so good. But now that I know, like it is because like they're going to switch to a different couple and then they're going to focus on that other couple and then they're going to switch. And then like, it goes like that. He got jealous of him running his lines and then called him babe. And then he was all like blushing and he's like, ooh, hard reminder of how crazy I am for you. And I was like, hard. Yeah, and then I have for Under the Stars scene, he was wearing a Twilight shirt, and
I want to get that hoodie. I want to make, if I have to make it, I'm going to make it because that would be such a good piece of merch for this.
And so I put in my notes, I said he was wearing a Twilight shirt, and is the out of focus from the time that he was crying while filming because he like made a comment about how like things like got like his eyes got like water filled and things got like blurry. And I was like, is that where the title came from? So that was my last note.
For sure. When they're filming that BL, the top has to kiss the other actor in the movie, and the bottom is a filmographer. So he's like the videographer. So
Yeah.
he has to be behind the camera watching the guy he loves kiss somebody else. And they've already confessed to each other. And he thinks to himself, even if I have to keep rolling with my eyes filling with tears and my vision out of focus, I will keep rolling because he is such a good actor. And I am dedicated to capturing how special he is for the rest of the world to see. And it's truly so beautiful. And it shows this character at the top who was being used in this past relationship and had no purpose in life. He's finding his purpose. And not only that, but somebody is noticing and valuing and validating that for him. So just overall so precious. And you do get the feeling that this BL film they're working on is going to go really well because they're all taking it so seriously.
Yes. It's
absolutely
so
adorable.
Good. Yeah. So for the second couple, so they're obviously like they're working on this film together. And as you mentioned, there's like this like beef between this competition between the second and the third years. And so in the next episode 5, there's like a fight between the second and third year directors. And I'm sitting there watching these two boys fight, and I'm like, kiss, and then they do.
And then they kiss. They're literally up in each other's, they're like, their other friends are holding them back, trying to hold them back, and they're getting up in each other's shit, pulling on each other's ties, and then they just rip into a big ol' smooch. And
I was like, yeah, this is really happening.
And that, okay, so the second year, who is the like president of the second year's group, he says in that first episode, he's like, we're going to be doing a BL. I'm not gay, but I'm a Fudanshi now, and I love this. And I've never been so affected by a story with so much love and emotion. But he says really clearly, he's like, I'm not gay. And then in this moment, they kiss each other so ferociously, and you're like, you're both gay. You're both.
Well, that's why I said at the beginning, the straight virgin director, in air quotes for listeners.
Oh my gosh. So that moment was very telling. They're enemies who so quickly turned into lovers. They have this first kiss in the first few seconds, and then they're both like, what the hell was that? Go their separate ways until one of them gets a notice from the dorm advisor.
Yeah, so the third year lives in the dorm, and the long-haired second year, he lives off campus with his grandfather, and his grandfather is sick and has to go like get like surgery or something, and so he's unable to live at home because he would be at home alone, and so he transfers to live in the dorm. And very conveniently, the third year has no roommate, so he gets assigned a new roommate. He doesn't know who he is until he shows up. He like opens the door, and then he's like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't suck, because like the long hair guy's like shirtless and like just in the room, and he turns around and like realizes who it is, and then he's like, oh, sorry, your grandpa's sick. And I was like, oh my God.
And this is the first time that he sees him in a state of undress, and he clocks his legs. And then several other times he clocks his legs. And at one point he's like, damn, that man has the legs of a gazelle. It's like at school, they're total enemies. But the second he gets a sight of this man's like gammies, he's all in.
Yes. So like they've got this huge beef, and so he's like kind of worried, but then the long-haired second year's just like so chill in the room, and then he's like, oh, by the way, check out this BL. And so then they're like reading BL together, and he's like, oh, what are you into? And then he's like giving him Rex, and then like they're like sitting together and like cozy reading, and it's, what were you gonna say, Courtney?
I have to say it because he's like, I know you're doing a sci-fi for film class, so you must be into fantasy stuff. You have to read an Omegaverse.
Yeah.
They brought up Omegaverse. And he was like, you're saying a bunch of words that don't really mean anything to me. And I was like, they said Omega, like Omegaverse mentioned. I was so happy for that.
Yes, and we also find that like the redheaded third year, he like his family has like he's got this some sort of like family business, and it's like is it a dumpling business?
It's a butcher shop, but
it's a butcher shop. Yes,
a character called Gyoza Man, which is a dumpling. So basically, the red hair character who's a third year, whose dorm room it is, when he's like, "Hey, I want to give you a welcome gift. I have a bunch of merch for my family's business." And he hands him a dumpling, and he goes, "Oh, your family owns a restaurant." And he goes, no, it's a butcher shop. And he unzips the dumpling and there's a little stuffed animal pig inside. We're both vegetarians. Both of us have
yes.
now, so we're both just like.
But I have in my notes. I was like, I need a Gyoza Man plush. Like I have it in my notes.
There has to be a Gyoza Man plush out there on the market. We're gonna find one. If we don't find one, we're making one. Copyright be damned.
I'm in.
Copyright be damned. Okay, because that was the cutest thing ever. And then this character who he thinks hates him, this underclassman he thinks hates him. Every time he comes into the dorm, he's cuddling the little present that he gave him. And that's so sweet. So the first couple has their own little squishy plushies, and then this couple has their little dumpling plushies, and overall just like the cutest. Couldn't be more cute.
Okay, did you catch the foreshadowing? So before he brings up Omegaverse, he goes, you should try this BL. It's about a down and out slut who falls for his top.
I did catch that the first time. I was like, and here we go. Because it's noted that the red-haired character who's a third year is the most popular. He has had many girlfriends, and although he feels very lonely, like people don't understand him and his relationships don't really work out. Apparently all the underclassmen who at an all boys school, all the underclassmen have already been leaving him notes of admiration and confession. So yeah, he's definitely the more experienced. And then we have the nerdy second year who is a straight virgin. So they're literally sitting on the bed reading this manga together, like knees touching, looking over the same pages as they're basically reading a story about themselves.
And like, they're not reading just like any old like BLs. Like I've got it on good authority here in my notes. It says, quote unquote, smut makes everything better.
Right on the nose there. I was like, these characters are us. They get us. They are us. Finally, good Fujoshi Fudanshi representation. We all like the smut, and none of us should be ashamed to say it makes it better.
Exactly. So all right, I'll get into it. Those are like, that's where like my notes stop. I was like, it doesn't get any better than this, honestly. So he's like, oh wow, this guy, he's like not like crazy after all, because the long-haired one is always bickering and screaming and trying to fight the third year director. And he's like, yo, what's your beef? Well, basically we find out later that he's like always screaming at him because he's being critical in a way that he's like thinking that he's not reaching his full potential. He's like, you bring yourself down, you do all this extra work to support your cast, but you're not holding them to your standard because you are so much better than what you're putting out. And he's like, and that's why I'm mad. I'm mad because like I want genuine competition because I know you could give it to me, and you're treating this like a hobby when you could be great. And he's like, and that's why I'm mad. And
he's like, I don't hate you. I respect you so much that I'm disappointed in what I see because I want you to reach higher. And so yet again, we have these two kind of pushing each other to be their bests. And then they make this rule that because they get along so well in their dorm when they're reading BL, that they're never allowed to talk about film in the room, because the redheaded character who is older, he has no plan on making this his career. And he doesn't really care to be the best he can be. He really only even got into film because it turns out the two of them in their childhood had been in a competition together. And the younger, long-haired, dark-haired second year, he made a film, and this other character made the like marketing scheme for Gyoza Man. And he was chubby, he was like a fat kid, and he saw this other guy. It was so cute. And he's like, I remember, he kept a picture of them, and he's like, I remember meeting you when I was a child, and I never even really liked film, but you inspired me to be passionate about something. So I don't plan on doing this for a career. I don't need you to push me to be the best I can be. I just want us to hang out. I want, when we're at home in our dorm, to just be chilling with each other and enjoying each other's company, because this will all be over in the fall. They only have like 6 months to live together. And that was so precious, because he really is like, hey, to let you know, I prioritize our friendship over my own capabilities in this hobby. So why don't you just let it go and just be my friend? Like maybe be my boyfriend.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of how their story goes, is they bicker a bunch, they work out the kinks in their relationship. We find out the backstory about how like the redhead remembered the other one from childhood and stuff. And then, they end up getting together, and I was like, It's like a bickering old couple, and they were adorable.
They're absolutely adorable, and they keep it a secret. So they're like
Mm-hmm.
meeting around school on the staircase, and they aren't telling their friends about each other because they want to be able to keep this competition while they're in the film studies together, because they
Right.
still haven't had their end of year project where they're going to go up neck to neck. So it's very cute because the other couple, the two dynamics are just so different between the roommates
Yes.
to lovers and the enemies to lovers. And the enemies to
Mm-hmm.
lovers, they're kind of keeping that guise of being enemies on campus. And honestly, they kind of are. Like, they have this duality where they are able to flip the switch off when they're at home, and when they're at school,
Yep.
they truly are that competitive and that
Mm-hmm.
gnarly with each other.
Yes. So the second years, so we know the second years are working on a BL. The third years are working on this like crazy sci-fi film, to the point where it's like they're wearing like 3D rendering suits with like the little balls that catch people's motions and stuff on it. And so where our first couple is the actor and the cameraman from the second years, and our second couple is the director from the third year and the second year. Our third couple, one of our characters, is actually the digital architect and editor. Like, he's almost maybe the animator. I don't know like what his technical title would be for the third year class, and he's the best friend of the redhead from the second couple.
Mm-hmm. So I think that he's the special effects or
yeah, that would be
assistant. Yeah, and he might be called like an assistant, or so it says CG. So it's definitely the computer generated artist. Yeah. And then you can see this line here if you're watching. Again, if you're not watching on YouTube, you could be. But we've got the director and like the president of the third years. He is best friends with the computer generation artist here. And so his name, we're moving on to our third couple. So his name's Ray, and he is like totally antisocial. He's good at, all of his friends say it, he's good for nothing but computer work. If he is doing CGI, he is a mastermind. But if you're expecting him to answer his phone or come hang out or do anything like that, you better find somebody else. And if you guys are just listening on the podcast, I'll describe him for you. He has blue hair that's so messy. He has bedhead all the time. It looks like he sleeps in his clothes every day. He's like a true introverted nerd. So he wears a hat that says the things. So you know that
That killed me.
It killed me. So I think there was a lot of references I maybe didn't even pick up on to other films in this, but definitely his hat is referencing the movie The Thing, and he never takes it off. He has these glasses that are like bottle cap glasses. And he's always wearing a hoodie underneath his blazer. So in comparison to the other boys, we've got our kind of bad boy and our young little nerd, and then our posh president who's super popular, and then we've got this kind of salami computer artist, and he is very aloof. And then the other character is going to be a first year who's just gotten to school, and he is tiny and very femme. And I will point out that his coloring, his hair is like ombre from blue to pink, almost like a trans flag, but he definitely doesn't, I don't think, identify as trans, but he wears a lot of blue and pink, and then he paints his nails, and in middle school people called him a lady boy. So he's definitely more gender non-binary or gender fluid appearing or presenting. So he is a first year. And tell us how we meet him. So his name, so the top in this relationship is Ray, and then the bottom is Xian.
Yeah, so Xian shows up little first year to class, and actually he shows up to the film club, and he's like, "Hi, I'm here to join film club, but in reality, I just want a boyfriend." And that's like his whole shtick. Like the whole first episode where we meet him, he's like interacting with his roommate, and he's like, "I just want a boyfriend." And then he's like talking to his friends from his old school, and he's like, "I am gonna transfer to an all boys school because I want a boyfriend." And so he abandons his like friends from his other schools, and he's like, "I'm gonna go to an all boys school. I want to have that like all boys school romance. I want a boyfriend, blah, blah, blah." And then he's like trying a bunch of different clubs because he's like, one of these clubs is going to have my boyfriend. And so he gets to film club, and he's like, "Hey everyone, I'm Xion. To be honest, I'm really just here to find a boyfriend." And Ray is there, and he's like, "You are in the wrong place, my guy."
Yep, he's like, get lost. One thing I like about Shion is that he keeps saying he reads shoujo and that he wants to be in a shoujo romance. So all these other guys are reading BL and want to be in their BL romance. And
That's
Shion is
so
like,
good.
and
Yes.
Shion's like, I read so much shoujo. All I want is a shoujo romance. So he gets there, he declares that he's going to find a boyfriend, and Ray's like, in this club, you're out of your mind. We're a bunch of nerds who are serious about our work, and you better just quit now while you're ahead. And we've seen him in a little montage join a bunch of other clubs to find a boyfriend, to no avail. Even though he ended up being really talented at anything he tried, he just wasn't there to actually participate. He wanted a boyfriend. And so he gives his effort, but once he realizes that there's no prospects, he moves along. So Ray is kind of determined to turn him off of the film club so that they don't waste their time on this newbie.
Yeah. And I say he was so good at those other like clubs, mostly sports, that they were like sobbing when he went to leave. They were like, no, please don't go. Like they were going to go to like, they were like, we're going to go to championship or something. I was like, oh my gosh.
And he's like, when are any of you going to realize that I'm not just good at sports, I'd be a great boyfriend. I'm special. Like, he's like, one of you, one day, a boy is going to realize what I'm really worth. And they're all like, we all value you. We all think that you're a great addition to this. And he's like, you don't value me for what's important.
Yes.
As so a boyfriend.
Right. He's like this, like, very small, petite, like, over the top, like, I want a boyfriend. That's my main focus. And then, like, the love interest, right, is this, like, quiet, reserved nerd who only cares about, like, editing film, like, CG footage.
So he totally tells him off, and then the little pink-haired character is off crying in another room, banging on a piano. He's like such a crybaby, drama queen, whiny brat, and I'm obsessed with him. But he's like over
I
there,
to
like
punch him in the face. I'm like, shut up.
That shows you our difference right there, because I'm just like, oh yeah, I love this guy. He's like so unafraid to like be his whiny little self. So he's off crying on this piano, and then Ray comes in, and meanwhile he's just like, that stupid Four Eyes nerd, how dare he tell me off. And so like as he's bitching about this guy, the guy walks in and he's like, did I make you cry? Am I the one you're screaming about right now?
Right. And then he like goes over to him and he's like, okay, basically, like, what do I gotta do to get you to shut up? And little like shoujo, he's just like, can you just like pet me and like tell me not to cry, that everything's gonna be okay? And like, what did he like specific? He said this one part where like I was like, so bold.
He straight up says, if this was a shoujo manga, you would kiss me and tell me that everything's okay and to stop crying. And so Ray leans in and kisses him. And
I was screaming.
I was like, did he just kiss him? Like, we had no indication that Ray was gay or interested at all. Actually, we thought he was a dick because he just yelled at this guy. And he says, kiss me, and Ray kisses him. And he's like, oh, look, you did stop crying. I guess that worked. And so you kind of also get the feeling that Ray will kind of do whatever to get this guy to shut up. So
yes. Yeah.
And then he's like, so if you find a boyfriend, you won't have any reason to be in film club. Why don't you just date me? And he's like, you would really date me? And he's like, yeah, I'll be your boyfriend. No problem. And it's kind of cute until you realize that Ray is just doing it to get this guy out of film club so that he's not a nuisance to all of them. And that comes up later. They're like, they're talking to the rest of the film club, and they're like, oh my God, you're not hanging out with Ray, are you? And he's like, yeah, he's my boyfriend. And Ray shows up and he's like, yeah, I thought I'd get him to quit film club.
Yeah, right.
Shion is like heartbroken. He's like, you really only did that to get me to quit film club? And he's like, so what?
Right.
Heartless.
And all of his friends are like, do not get involved with this guy, because he's got apparently a record of doing the same thing, like just agreeing to date someone and then just completely blowing them off. Like never really had a real relationship because he was only focused on himself and like the films that he was working on and nothing else. They're like, he's a workaholic. He's going to leave you on red. Like, they're like, there'll be days he like, we don't even hear from him.
Yep. And then we've got Shion's roommate. So this is our only little love triangle. So there's almost no toxicity in this story, except for Ray is a bit of a dick. But he seems like he's mostly a bit of a dick because he's never really been in a reciprocal relationship. He doesn't quite know how to show somebody care and affection. So when Shion kind of learns that he only agreed to date him as like a practical matter, I guess.
Yeah.
He starts hanging out with his roommate more. And I actually thought him and his roommate would have made a good pair. So I was stuck in this love triangle, like, oh my gosh, is he going to start hanging out with the roommate? The roommate is in the music club and he is a goth who has messy black hair and wears really cute black ripped clothing and has all these piercings. And he really cares about Shion, and he doesn't want him in this bad relationship. He was the one who invited him to come to film club because he wanted to hang out with him more. So Shion stops investing all of his time in Ray and starts hanging out with his roommate more. And that makes Ray realize he might miss out on yet another good person who was genuinely interested in him.
He also starts to notice like how much Shion is dedicating himself and getting better at like being involved in the film club too. He's like pretty into that, and so it kind of like creates like the spark of jealousy, like you said, that really makes him, you know, like some in those romances you're like, oh, they need that spark of jealousy to make them realize like how they really feel that was them.
Yep. It's always like somebody's cousin or their girl best friend from childhood, and then they come into the picture for a second and the other character gets jealous, and you realize that they had no reason to be jealous in the first place because these two are purely platonic. So he gets jealous first of all of that roommate, and then he also, like you said, actually gains a lot of respect for Shion because he sees that whenever he does anything, he puts his whole heart into it, and regardless of the fact that he's mostly interested in romance, doesn't mean that he's not going to give his all and take responsibility for the commitments he made to this film club. And on top of that, he's finding a lot of joy, and there's this fieriness in him that Ray really likes and is attracted to. So he kind of starts to pull him back in, and he's like, hey, why don't you come over to my dorm room tonight? And he starts trying to provoke that spark again, to see him be feisty about wanting a boyfriend. And he wants him to show that interest once more in him so that he can see that light in his eyes that he gets when he's working on something that he loves or when he's talking about romance. So he starts to kind of stoke that fire again.
And when they first, like when they have their first confrontation, like when they start dating, Ray makes a comment. He goes, I'm not willing to budge an inch. Like, I will not budge at all for you. So, like, if you're cool with that, we can keep dating. I don't care. He's like, but I know that I'm not going to change. So then when he's like kind of crawling back and being like, hey, no, like, I like you. Shion's like, why would I date someone who, like, and he quotes him directly, right? He's like, why would I date someone who wasn't willing to budge like an inch, like, for me? And so then he kind of like makes him prove himself now instead.
Yep, and he asks him, he's like, what can I do to show you? And he goes, probably a lot of things, but I'll let you come up with it on your own. And it was so boss bitch of him to just be like, I'm not going to you're older than me. I'm not just going to walk you through the steps of how to care for somebody. If you paid enough attention to me, you'd know what I like. And then Ray shows that he has been paying attention because he pulls him in and starts whispering in his ear. And when he pulls him in, his hat blows off and he gets to see his bedhead, which earlier in the episodes, he was like, why do you always wear a hat? And he's like, oh, to cover my bedhead. And he's like, I want to see your cute bedhead. And he wouldn't let him see it.
He's like, no.
So in this moment, he gets to see his bedhead and he gets that one little thing that he wanted, and he sees how cute he is, and Ray starts whispering in his ear. He's like, please, like, be mine, stay by my side, be mine. And he says it over and over again, and Shion just blushes out, and he's like, okay, like, I actually can't say no to that. Like, if you're going to give me exactly what I wanted, which was that shoujo romance, if you're going to give me these moments, then absolutely I'll come back to you. And he does make a stipulation at first. He's like, I'm going to win as a first year. I'm going to win the film festival, and then you'll respect me so much, you'll want to be a real boyfriend. And Ray was like, I don't want to wait that long. Like, I'm serious about doing this right with you now. Yeah. And that's when it happens. And so I really love that too, that we could have had a slow burn with that third couple, but instead Ray is like, I don't want a slow burn. We've already started this and I really want to like take this further with you. And then they do take it much further. He invites him over to the dorm and Shion brings his book of poetry and he uses it as an excuse. He's like, I want you to get to know me for who I am. I'm a whiny, and he hands him this diary and it's a book of poems. And Ray reads the whole thing and he's like, what am I supposed to learn from all these poems? I've learned that you're a great poet, but I already knew that you were a whiny baby, emotional, like crybaby brat. So I haven't learned anything new. And I think you only brought this book of poems over here so that you didn't have to sit on my bed and do what you know we're about to do, which I knew you're excited about. So why are you acting so nervous?
Right. Called the fuck out.
And he is like a little smutty, dirty brained guy. And so he had been like even just trying to decide if he should wear lingerie over there. So he wants this. He just also had, you know, nerves about it. And you can tell in that it was so cute. And you can tell that Ray has really been paying attention to him and does really care for him, because he reads him right there. He's like, I see you, I've been seeing you, and now we're going to get down to the thing you're really excited about, and I think you're going to love it.
Yes. So all three couples consummate.
All of them.
Yes.
And they're all like fade to black, other than like some facial expressions that get the point across that things were taken to home base. So.
Right. Exactly. So after the third couple like consummates, I think that's when we switch to like our last 2 episodes, which are like our wrap up, like our button up of all of the couples. I thought it was really cute that at the end they brought in like the red string of fate. And I know that's like such a thing, and like it's done so much, but I'm a sucker for it every time. Okay,
every time. So the first 3 episodes are the first couple, then the next 3 are the second couple, the next 3 are the third couple, and then our last 2, so episode 10, 11, and 12, like our last 3 episodes are kind of tying up the film project. And we learned that the third years, as expected, won the film contest, but the second years who released the BL go unexpectedly viral. And so they get all of this publicity on YouTube, and then they have a band reach out to them and say, hey, we'd really love you to shoot our music video. Would you shoot our music video? So they end up doing this as
and by the way, we want the main actor to be in the music video.
The hot blonde from the beginning. So he is like the star. And he initially says he doesn't want to do it. And then his boyfriend is like, I need to shoot you again. I love filming you. I see something so special in you, and I want the whole world to see it. So please put your faith in me that if you act in this project, I will capture your essence and it will be so worth it. So he agrees to do it. And at the end, there is a scene where he has to fall into the ocean, and he falls around all these red balloons that are tied to rocks with a red string so that they don't litter. And then they're all trying to get the balloons, and one of those strings is tied around their hands as they're like confessing to each other in the water that even after graduation, they want to live together and they want to be together. And everyone's like looking for this last little piece of garbage, which is a balloon string. And they find it tied around that first couple's hands. And it was so sweet. And they're the only ones that we get total confirmation. I think that I feel like they'll stay together forever. The other couples don't make plans to live together later on, but you get the idea that they're all, you know, probably going to stay together. But this couple, you see them make kind of a vow. Actually, they renew. That was a callback, because they renew in this last moment when they're standing in the ocean together, they renew their promise and they say, let's make 3 new promises to each other. And the promises were to work hard and support each other as actor and filmmaker, to chase each other's dreams, to live together. And then he asks the top, he's like, what's our third promise going to be? And he says, that I love you. And he's like, well, that's not a promise, but it really is. Like, loving somebody truly is a promise. And
it is.
I felt like it was wrapped up so beautifully. It was a perfect story from beginning to end. There was so much going on, so much drama, smut, everything that you could have. So, I mean, I would 10 out of 10 recommend this to anybody who doesn't have like if you have a really low spice tolerance, this might get to you.
Mhm.
But if you like romance and
Implied spice.
if you like implied spice, and if you are like a BL head, if you're a Fujoshi, a Fudanshi, like if this is the space you want to be in, they're constantly
Yes.
talking about BL, they're constantly reading BL, going over the
Mhm.
themes. So you get to really immerse yourself in that culture that we love to immerse ourselves in. So I absolutely loved it.
I
Do you
really,
have
I loved it too. It was so good. Thank you for bringing this to my attention and making me watch this because it was so good.
I'm so happy that I got to do this episode with somebody because there's so much to talk about that doing it by
Yes.
myself would have killed me, not having somebody to like hear their thoughts as well. And I'm glad you wrote down some of those notes because there was so much happening and so many
Yeah.
little like one-liners and nods to the like Fujoshi community and so many inside jokes almost with the community. So I'm really glad that somebody else who's so deeply a part of this did this with me. Do you have any other notes you want to say about the actual story before we break into our delusional boyfriend segment?
I don't think so. It was just overall, it was so good. Like I said, I mean, it was great for the ADHD because I've got other friends who are like into BLs, but they want that instant gratification. They're like, I loved Sasuke and Miyano, but the slow burn was too much. Like they're like, oh, like I like Apothecary Diaries, but like I shouldn't have to wait until season 2 to see her touch the frog. And so like I'm like, for those friends, I'm recommending this immediately. Like, I'm going to be texting like, hey, if you haven't checked this out, like check it. Cause like, it's up your alley. Like you get the shampoo, the conditioner, the body wash, you get the satisfaction. It all in 3 episodes. It's like, it really is like, it felt like 3 unique stories, but like everyone, like it was one story and it wasn't one where they keep cutting back and forth. Like it was one straight storyline.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like they cut back and then you're seeing it from like a different angle, but you're going back in time to the same time where you saw the first episode or whatever, but it was a straight line.
Yeah.
Felt like 3 separate stories, even though like everyone is friends, but then it all like circles back. It was amazingly well done. I guess I'm going to add that box set to cart immediately.
Oh yeah. This is gonna immediately be one of my like top series fixations. I can't wait to get like some artwork and the box set. I'm absolutely obsessed. So speaking of which, okay, because I already know who my first character I want like merch of, but so as far as the delusional boyfriends go, instead of picking like who our delusional boyfriend is, because obviously these are all high school characters. I am 28. You're also right around that age. We'll just go with 29 forever.
I have hold on, side story. Sometimes I volunteer at like a local school, and this like they were 4th graders, but this 4th grader comes up to me and she's like, how old are you? Are you in your like early 30s? And I was like, first of all, you don't just say that to someone, even if you're right.
You always guess 27.
I looked at her, and because by now I'm like, okay, we're besties because like we've been hanging out all class. I've been helping her with her project, and I was like, first of all, I thought we were friends. And she was like,
second of all, you just stabbed me.
I know. I was like, and she's like, and I was like, do you think I look like I'm in my early 30s? And she was like, 20s. And she's like shaking her head, and I was like, good recovery.
And that's what you'll go with from now on.
And I said, lead with that next time.
Back in my day, they always said never ask a lady her age, but I guess this new generation doesn't have
No, she was an Aries. She's never going to do that.
You clocked her zodiac sign right there. You're like, girl, with that attitude, you must be.
Later on in the class, she was like wrestling another girl. I'm like, hey, I need you to take the Aries down. She stopped immediately, and I was like, nice.
Thank you. You understand. So instead of picking who our delusional boyfriend is, we're going to pick who our delusional boyfriend would have been back when we were in high school. Who is a character we would have gravitated towards or had, who would have we been pining after, chasing after back in our day when we were in high school? And also, were you in any of these types of relationships? Did you have any of these dynamics?
Identify with, yeah. Okay.
You first.
Okay, me first. Okay, so for like, I feel like out of all of the characters, I feel like I personally identify with Ray. Like, And maybe it's just because he's clearly on the spectrum.
Like, it is what it is.
No, I mean, like, straight up, like, that's really, because for me, like, the first two, it's just like, it's too, like, sweet bad boy, not really a bad boy, like, just wears piercings. He's the, oh, you know who's a good comparison for the blonde mane? Have you seen Horimiya? It's okay, it's a straight romance, but like the main character in that, he is a soft goth basically, like he's got all these piercings, but he's like basically the sweetest human being alive. So like it's kind of like giving that, but then like the other two characters, like one is way too over the top, like for them, the middle couple, and they're both like way too over the top, but like in different ways. Like for sure I couldn't ever be with, sorry for my best friend who's a theater kid, I could never be with a theater kid. I was a theater kid. Everything makes sense now. Yep. I was a theater kid. I went to an art school for high school, and so I had a lot of theater kid friends, so I get it. But like, it's just, I couldn't be with a theater kid. That's not for me. So you were behind the scenes with Ray. Yeah, so like for me, like I was like the Ray character, but like as far as like who I would have like pined for like in high school, because even like I'm a little bit of a soft goth now, but like in high school I was more of a nerdy jock type, and so but I did pine for like goths. So for me, it was the first year roommate is who I would have gone for as a high schooler. And let me see. So his name was Cujo. Anyways, but he was totally. I'm like, somebody made a TikTok the other day and was like, why are all of us Fujoshis obsessed with these exhausted looking men? And when I saw that character and the bags under his eyes, I was like, oh, dang, he cute. Like, how tired he is. Mm-hmm. This tired little emo boy. Oh my gosh, he is so emo. And he's good at music. So check. I love a sad boy. I love a sad boy. Yep. I always have. It's just, perfect choices. So I would have been Shion. I would have been literally, no, I'm not. I wouldn't have even been him. I am him. He wants a boyfriend. I literally made a podcast about all the boyfriends I want. Like, all I care about is boyfriends. I'm boy crazy. And for a bi girl, that's hilarious because I'm girl crazy too. But like, seriously, the only thing on my mind my entire life was like, I want that love story. I want that happily ever after. I just want romance. I want a boyfriend. And in high school, I was a serial monogamous. Like, I dated for a long term. I had the same boyfriend all through high school until he graduated. And then I was dating boys who I went to school with who were already in college. And I was just like boy crazy. So I would have absolutely been Shion. And of all these characters, like the character I knew, because the way that you defended him earlier when I said I was going to punch him. Oh yeah, no, he's me. And he's so annoying. And he even says in it, he's like, he says to his roommate, he's like, I don't want Ray to think I'm annoying. And his roommate's like, that's inevitable, honey. You are annoying. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn it, it's me. Like, never have I related to a character so much. Like, could be good at something if you invested your time and your heart into it. Just wants to be out at dinner with a boy instead. Just wants to hold somebody's hand. Like, and like such a little slut too. Like when he pulls up like his little underwear, you just should have seen me with like my hidden drawer of thongs in high school. And like, I was absolutely him. And as far as the character who I would have thought was cute in high school, I definitely would have thought that the class president, who's like the popular hot boy, I would have thought he was hot, but the person I would have pined after is the one who showed me the least amount of interest, which would have been Ray. Like, absolutely, absolutely, I would have been Shion, like dying. And that was the boyfriend I had in high school who I dated for like 3 years. At one point, we broke up for like a month, and he invited another girl to prom. And then he took her to prom, and I had to go to prom with another kid. And we went to a school so small, guys,
there was 80 kids from 7th grade to 12th grade. So in the high school, there's only like 60 kids. There's 13 kids in my graduating class, which means there's 6 boys in my class and 6 girls in my class. So I'm dating a kid who's a year older than me. I have to bring somebody else to prom, and there's only like 50 people at prom, and I'm dancing with this rando. And my boyfriend, who we had gotten back together, we were on and again, off again. We are back together, and he brought a different girl. And I will say this, her last name was Deacock, and she wore a peacock dress, and everyone called her Deacock Peacock or Peacock Deacock. And I was like, that's the
Don't
only...
do that to yourself. She knew what she was doing.
She knew what she was doing.
Yourself.
And honestly, really, really nice girl. But I was like, that's the only way I'm going to feel better about this is if I remember that people called her Peacock Deacock, because I just had to watch her dance with my boyfriend all night because he was that disinterested in me. And that was after years of dating me. So I totally was like, I loved the chase of chasing after a boy who was not interested. And then the reward of being like, I got them to fall in love with me. And obviously, anybody you have to work that hard for their attention, they don't really like you. And I love that Shion understands that and values himself a lot more than I did in high school, because he's like, hey, if you're not going to chase me, I'm done chasing you. And if you don't show me that you're paying attention to me, then I'm done paying attention to you. So I absolutely would have been Shion, and I absolutely would have chased after Ray. Only difference is the boys that I chased after were not as decent as Ray. Ray is actually like a good person with special interests and hobbies. The boys that I was interested in who weren't interested in me were just, they weren't texting me back because they were shooting gophers with other girls. Like, they were not nice boys. So that's our delusional boyfriends for it. I guess our other questions would be like, how do they rank against your other anime boyfriends? But again, I don't feel like it really counts because all my other anime boyfriends are adults. So obviously none of these characters are going to dethrone them. Like my precious Victor Nikiforov, he's still sitting on his glowing throne.
Speaking of delusional boyfriends, I got this shirt, and this is my first time wearing it, and I was like, I have to wear this for Courtney for her episode because I know that she'll appreciate it so much. I'm wearing, for the listeners, it's a Sato Sugu shirt, and it's got like the little split faces, and it's got their little beta fish on either side, and they're like making a little pouty face, and it's so cute. But the best part, and that's the front, the best part for me is the back. I'm going to show the YouTube listeners, the back. It's got, oh my gosh, so describe the back, Courtney.
Okay, so we've got them on the front, they're in chibi characters. On the back, they're in their like full animated characters, and they're nuzzling like face to face. And then we've got the box that Gojo is held in up top in like a browser screen, and then in another browser screen, so it looks like a desktop, like it's the desktop background. So we've got like a tab open of them holding hands and a tab open of the KFC. I mean, it's just overall.
Okay, it's the KFC guy with Gojo hair wearing the blindfold, but crying.
So funny. We have a reference to everything. And on the front, the boys are wearing halos, which, I mean, girl, I would have pointed this out sooner, but when we first got on before we started recording, I had to point it out because I noticed it immediately, and it brought a tear to my eye. I cannot think about those boys without wanting to cry, but it also made me smile because it's so fucking cute.
It's so cute. So I'm not sponsored or anything. I love this designer's merch. It's Kaiban Zero. Go follow them on Instagram. It's KAIBANZERO. This is not the only like Gojo like piece that they've dropped. They just do like goofy shit, and I love it. Like they've done a My Neighbor Totoro JJK mashup shirt that I also own. They've done the cat at the table getting yelled at by a woman meme, but it's Kataro Gojo and Geito's the one yelling across it. I also have that one. And then the other one, the one that made me follow their account in the first place, it's like, it looks like a Pokemon battle, but it's Yuji Itadori fighting the monster that Junpei turned into. Oh. And the options in the bottom are fight, cry, or cry for Itadori to take. Yeah, cry. So
And then
that
the
rude.
one that you showed me that killed me, that I love so much, is Gojo from the back in a Speedo, and he has a tramp stamp of Gato, and it says "Daddy's home."
Yes. So go follow them. These shirts aren't always available. They do periodic drops, but if you like hype up their like posts, they might do like redrops of like really good merch that it's so good. Like I was like, I'm gonna save money, and then they dropped this shirt, and I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna save money. I'm spending it. It's gone.
I'm writing checks, it turns out, not cashing checks, but
yeah,
absolutely here for it. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you have been like reading or loving or doing, anything going on lately that you want to promote or point people towards, whether it's yours or somebody else's?
Oh my god, yeah. Yay, thanks for asking. So, on another episode that I did with you, I told you that I was going to Anime NYC, and that is a lie. I am no longer going to Anime NYC. Instead, Girls, Gays, Animes, and Bakuko are going to be at Anime Expo LA. We are going to be putting on a repeat panel of ours that we've done at multiple conventions. It's Anime Inc. from Edo to Otaku, where we talk about the history of tattoos in Japan and how it's really evolved into like this whole culture of its own, where there's like, and I'm covered in anime tattoos for the listeners online. So, and so is my husband. He's got a full color sleeve that he's working on where it's different anime characters, women eating different things or like drinking. And so it's so cute. Mine is all like black and white, but so we've got this panel that we put it on at a bunch of different cons, but we were so excited to get invited to go out to Anime Expo LA. So if you're out there, check out our panel, please. It's on Thursday, but it's late. So if you have a flight that comes in on Thursday, you can still make our panel because it is super late on Thursday. So come say hi to us.
That is so exciting. Like, congratulations. Anime Expo is such a big deal. And I'm going to do everything I can to show up because I think, first of all, I don't want to miss out on Anime Expo. Second of all, I would love to be in the audience for that panel because the history of tattoos, first of all, amazing. The history of tattoos specific to Japan, amazing. The history of tattoos as it applies to otakus and nerds and anime is just so niche and cool and relevant and topical. And I'm so excited. Is there going to be any recording if people aren't there, or is there, it's kind of be there, be square?
We're still deciding. We are allowed to film it and post it. They because they've got, this is a very serious convention. And so we've got like a whole press kit that we have to follow for when we post on our socials about it and stuff. But we were told that we could record it. So we're going to try to figure out when we get there, what we can do to record it and post it, because this is something that we are going to want to share outside of the expo, because this will be like our fourth time putting it on, and I feel like we've really got it down now.
That is so fucking cool. I am so like excited for you guys. I'm that's just amazing. So congratulations. And definitely everybody, if you're at Anime Expo, make sure that you check out their panel. Also make sure you go follow Val, her podcast, Girls, Gays, Animes. And then your husband's podcast one more time is Bakuko. So go follow them on their YouTube, follow them on socials. And then if you're at Anime Expo, check them out. And then hopefully if you're subscribed to everything and they have that recording, you'll also be able to check out that panel online if you're not able to go to LA. And those dates are July 3rd through the 6th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, July 3rd through the 6th. You can tell I've been looking at flights.
You better be there. I'm going to be so sad if you're not.
I am really going to try to move mountains to make it happen. So I'm really excited for the rest of June's drops. Make sure that you're subscribed on our YouTube and to whatever podcast you're listening to so that you get all of the bonus episodes, our BL manga, BL manhwa, BL anime, and reverse harem romance novel. We have one of those every month. So make sure you're subscribed so you never miss one, and go follow Delusional Boyfriend Book Club on our socials. TikTok and Instagram are mostly where we're at. We also have the blog. So if you want to check out the blog, we've got the website up where you can look at the full calendar for the year to see all of the different reads and watches we're doing. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening in and watching along. And Val, thank you so much for being here. This is so much fun. You make the time pass so quickly, and being able to do a buddy watch with somebody and geek out over these characters.
I told you, I could yap for hours with you, girl, honestly.
It's so much fun. It really does feel like a FaceTime with all of you listeners and a FaceTime with you, Val. And
Mhm.
it's like exactly what I need after watching or reading something to just like
Yes.
geek out and get it out of my system so I don't just like choke on all the excitement. So thank you guys so much for coming along on the journey. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
Is the solution.
Bye.
Bye.